Hi, Packer students. Welcome to week 4 of our science hybrid learning that we're doing together. And here I am again at Schoology, where we always start. And you're already listening to the video, so good job. The other two things you're going to find in the folder for week 4. By the way, everything is due on September 29th, which is next Wednesday. So you're going to have a Nearpod lesson, which is not, the content is different, but getting to your Nearpod and doing the Nearpod is the same as it has been all along. But I want to open up the podcast assignment because that's different this week. Maybe you remember at the beginning of the year, I was telling you that I was going to assign your podcasts for the first 3 weeks, and then I was going to let you choose. Here we are. We're at the point where you're going to get to choose your podcasts. So here's the page, and I'm going to talk you through it right now, but if you forget what I'm talking about and you want to hear me say it again, there's a recording in this page that you can hear me say this again. So basically, you are going to choose, and I want you to choose a podcast that sounds interesting to you. So try and avoid choosing a podcast because your friend did, or choosing a podcast because maybe it's shorter than another choice or something like that. Try and choose one because it sounds interesting to you, because podcasts are made by people who are very enthusiastic about their topic, and so they tend to be really interesting to listen to. But that's more the case if you are also interested in that topic. Okay, so as usual, you're going to fill out the podcast summary report, which is found here in the center. You're still going to need to name the podcast and the episode, and that's more important this time because I didn't assign it, and I'll need to be able to go listen to that podcast myself if I'd like to. Let's see what else. Oh, and you should choose a podcast that is at least 12 minutes long. Sometimes you're going to see episodes where the podcasts are shorter, 5 minutes or less, but that's often just like a preview of an upcoming show that they're talking about. Those are not the kind of podcasts I want you to listen to. Choose something that's at least 12 minutes long. And really, if you're choosing a podcast that's interesting to you, you're not going to care if it's longer than 12 minutes. It's going to be interesting and it will keep you listening. All right, so the choices are down below. And I made all of these into live links so you can click on them and go find them. So it takes you to Spotify. So like We've Seen But Why, a podcast for curious kids. Let me click on that and we'll see where it takes us. It takes us to Spotify, to the podcast called But Why, a podcast for curious kids. But now you need to choose the episode. So you're going to scroll down. Maybe you remember that Vaccines and Masks. Oh, I just went past it. But there's one called Vaccines and Masks. Is one that we listened to the first week. But here's one about why dogs have tails and why do cats sharpen their claws. These sound interesting. How do you make ice cream? What happens to the forest after a fire? So you could choose any one of these, and these are a nice length. I think you'll enjoy these. But you don't have to pick But Why. If you decide you want to pick a different kind of podcast, maybe Wow in the World was the one where the people go on in a time machine back and forth in time. This Fun Kids Science Weekly, I enjoyed that. Unexplained Mysteries sounds like a pretty cool one. All right, and you don't have to stay with the same one week after week, but if you find one that you love and you want to keep doing different episodes on that one, that's great. All right, so I'm going to move over to OneNote and just briefly show you what's there. As usual, you're going to see a graph analysis, a notes page, processing activity 1, processing activity 2, and a checklist. Okay, you should examine this picture carefully before you go down and answer the questions below. The notes section is a little bit different this time. After you listen to the Nearpod lesson, you can come here and see this cause and effect flow map. Maybe you've seen these before. The way this works is it's claiming that there is a change in population size, and everything on the left that's pointing to the box where it says change in population size, all these things are causes, things that would cause a change in the population size. Then all the arrows coming out the other side are what's the result if there's a change in the population size. So causes on the right, results on the left, or effects on the left. And then based on this map and what you saw in the Nearpod, there's a series of questions at the bottom to answer. Okay, processing activity 1, I think you're really going to like it. This is one we're going to try and complete in class. We have owl pellets that we're going to dissect, and these are the steps that you'll follow to do that, and a guide over here to show you what the bones look like. We'll do this together when we're in class, so you don't need to get started on this beforehand. Processing activity 2 is one you'll be doing when you're at home. So we're learning about endangered and threatened species and what it means when they become extinct this week. So I would like you to do a research on an endangered animal. So there's a link here, worldwildlife.org keeps a list of the current endangered and threatened species. If you click on it, it gives you a nice list of all the species. Just make sure you're choosing one that's endangered and not one that's just threatened. We'd like to stick with the endangered species for this. You may want to save your title for later once you figure out everything that you've learned about your animal, but you're going to do some research online. Find the animal's scientific name, its common name, where it lives in the world, describe its habitat. Does it live underwater? Does it live in warm water, cold water? Does it live in Arctic regions? Does it live in tropical rainforests? Things like that. And then there should be a place where you can find how many of those animals are left in the wild. That should be a number. And then you tell us, is it a herbivore, a carnivore, or an omnivore? Then some things that the animal eats. And this is important because we're learning about birth rates and what that has to do with the population size. So you have to find out how many babies are usually born to every female when they get pregnant. And then why is this animal endangered? Tell me about the threats. Is it because there's been overhunting? Is it because their habitat's been destroyed? Is it because of pollution? Do some research and figure it out, and then tell us using complete sentences what that is. And then finally, what can be done to save this animal from extinction. And then don't forget to come back up and put a title after you've done your research, and then we want you to find a nice picture of the animal and paste it there. Then you have your checklist at the end as usual. So I think you'll enjoy this week. Lots of fun activities for us to do, and we get to learn about animals. That's always fun. All right, so we'll see you on Thursday. Bye, guys.